Ladies, gentlemen, February 25th of 2023, just over a year ago, I weighed 225 pounds. I wasn't working out. I wasn't watching what I was eating. All of my blood numbers were bad, and I was coasting very heavily into diabetes and a bunch of other problems. So I took some matters into my hands through a lot of different things that I'll talk about. As of today, it is the beginning of March 2024. I stepped on the scale this morning at 181 pounds. My musculature, my numbers, everything is completely different a year later. Doesn't mean I did everything perfectly. I want to talk to you about what I learned in that year, so stick around. Let's talk about doctors, and probably I'm going to talk about diet too, because they're kind of interwoven. Like anything you're going to do, you probably want to talk to a doctor about clearing you for a diet, exercise, whatever you want to do. You need to do that. The problem is that most doctors, when it comes to weight loss, they suck. They are horrible. They are completely untrained and incapable of giving you anything useful when it comes to losing weight or getting into better shape. They're going to give you platitudes like, well, I need you to eat less of this and eat more of this. Or I need you to go get 150 minutes of activity every week or exercise every week. Like, those are the kind of things that I've gotten from doctors. I recently visited my cardiologist, and the handout, like the post handout, had, and I'll take a picture of it and I'll even post it so you can see what I'm talking about. Like, eat 3 servings of this every week, eat 4 servings of this every week, eat this, eat this, eat this, eat this. And that's cool, but it doesn't really help. Maybe that sort of stuff works for your brain, but I found it to be completely worthless for my brain. Doctors just don't understand how to lose weight. They don't. I don't think they get much training about it in med school. I'm not saying don't use your doctor. Like, I like my GP quite a bit. I like my cardiologist quite a bit. I think they're really sharp dudes. I think they know what they're talking about in a number of areas, but losing weight is not it. They can tell you, hey, you need to lose weight for your health. Cool story, bro. But what do I do? That aforementioned eat this many servings, eat that many servings, that sounds cool, but then I go, okay, cool. What do I eat for breakfast? What am I eating for breakfast tomorrow? And then after that, what am I eating for lunch? And what am I eating for dinner? Like, I have no idea what that translates to. So those doctors can't help you. In addition, a lot of doctors are woefully underprepared when it comes to things like weight loss drugs and bariatric surgery. Like, do you need either of those things? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I don't know where you are in your path, your weight loss journey, although I hate that word. The only way to find that out is to talk to doctors that specialize in those things. And typically you're talking about nutritionists and obesity management specialists, like doctors who deal with people who have weight issues and they're trying to get rid of the weight issues or fix it or make it better. And that may be more than one doctor, by the way. It might be a whole host of them, like your obesity medicine and your nutritionist or personal trainer. Like, you might have to talk to numbers of them. Maybe your general practitioner is better than mine, and maybe they can help you in great ways. But my experience is that your standard doctor, when it comes to trying to deal with weight loss, they just suck. And I'm sorry to say that, so you got to shop around. 2, when it comes to diet, the number one thing when it comes to losing weight is going to be what you eat. On a very simplistic level, yeah, it's calories in, calories out, but that doesn't take into consideration any number of things, psychology, other things. But back to my thing about the doctor giving me, hey, eat this number of servings of this. What am I eating for breakfast in the morning, doctor? How much and what am I eating? Tell me that. Like, if the doctor said, hey, I want you to eat 2 eggs scrambled, you can throw in a 1/4 cup of shredded cheese, you can have 1 slice of toast, you can have coffee, and you can even have a little bit of sugar and cream in it, and then drink water with that, and that's good to go. Well, that's a plan. Like, that's a start. Like, I can go to the store, I can buy those things, I can have them ready, and I can eat that for breakfast. Or for lunch, I want you to eat a sandwich with this kind of bread that has this type of meat, like X amount ounces of meat. You can use these condiments, you can put a slice of cheese on it, and I want you to eat, like, I don't know, 15 almonds to go with it. That's going to be your extra little crunchy snack. Good to go. That's helpful too. Or if I said, hey doctor, I don't prepare anything for myself, I only eat out. Then the doctor can go, okay, they can pivot and go, cool. You're going to go to, let's say, Starbucks, and you're going to eat the little egg bites, and you're going to have a cup of coffee, and that's going to be your breakfast. And for lunch, you can hit the drive-through at this place and get this thing, because the doctor should be able to, if they're capable of helping you with nutrition, have some options for you. And you can lose weight eating nothing at home. You can totally do that. It's not easier, but it's doable. But you've got to have somebody who can help you through that. They can guide you. And like I said, and I realize I'm kind of bouncing back and forth between doctors and diet, but I feel like they're a little bit interwoven. I need guidance. So enough on the doctors. When it comes to diet, what I really found helped me was kind of eating the same things every day. And I realized that cuts down on variety. Some of you guys might be variety hounds, and I get it. Mrs. Grey Dog is a big variety hound as well. She likes very different things. She doesn't want to eat the same thing for dinner every week or every night. I don't care. So I tend to eat the exact same breakfast most mornings. I tend to eat a very similar lunch most days. And then in the evenings, kind of come up with a dinner. And we've been using HelloFresh, once again, not sponsored with or affiliated with, but I like HelloFresh because everything you need comes in the box, absent, knives, a skillet, stove, and an oven, things like that. Everything you need, the directions on how to prepare it. It gives you 2 servings or 4 servings, depending on what you ordered. And for those servings, it tells you the number of calories. And in addition, and I'm kind of veering ahead again, let's talk about MyFitnessPal. If I type in the HelloFresh stuff, like HelloFresh, whatever, I think I've got pork katsu tonight, it usually somebody's already entered it. So all I have to do is select it. It's super, super easy to track calories if I'm doing that. And even if I'm not tracking, I have a really good idea of how many calories I'm eating for dinner. And that way, day to day, week to week, I can tell if I'm eating too many calories, the right amount of calories, or too few calories based on what that scale does every week. Consistency in diet helps. Yeah, can you eat all kinds of crazy things? But you kind of have to be careful, right? Because the more you veer off those tracks, the easier it is to kind of lose your way, eat a whole lot of extra stuff. Consistency when it comes to diet. And speaking of diet, and I want to talk more about diet, but let's talk about tracking. The whole time that I was losing weight, probably the first 8 months of it, I never wrote down what I was eating or used any app to track what I was eating. Like I said, I was pretty conscious of my portions. I was keeping them small, and I was pretty conscious of trying to eat healthier choices, but I didn't track it. And I should also veer off and mention that Mrs. Grey Dog, who has been losing more weight than me over a slightly longer period of time, she's never once tracked anything she's eaten. She doesn't do it. She doesn't care. Do you have to track to lose weight? Nah, heck no, you do not have to. But what I found when I started tracking what I was eating, and that was, I think I started in September, is that the fluctuations up and down on the scale became much less. Not that I didn't track, and I'll eat a cheat meal. Like I will go, hey, tonight I'm just gonna eat whatever, I don't care, desserts, booze, whatever. But I logged it all. I logged every single bit of it. For good, bad, or indifferent, who cares? One thing that tracking really did for me is when I committed to putting everything in, no matter how, quote, bad or egregious that food was. 1, it made me accountable for everything. But 2, it made me kind of come to a different relationship with some of those foods. I've seen some people, when it comes to food, there's the good food and there's the bad food. Like, oh, I have to eat more good foods, and they feel guilty if they eat one of the bad foods. Food's just food, guys. It doesn't matter. Are some foods better for you than others nutritionally and other things? Sure, whatever. But if all you ate was chicken breasts and broccoli and salad and egg whites, at some point you'd probably want to just die. We are not built, most of us are not built for that. Like I've known some competitive bodybuilders who could do that, no lie. And they could just like literally every day of every week of every month of every year, they could eat super bland, super clean foods and not care. But even the most hardcore of bodybuilders that I personally know, and I'm not going to mention that individual's name, I don't want to put him on blast, but he even confessed to me that one time when he was getting ready for a show, he had eaten so clean for so long and dialed his calories down so far that at one point in the middle of show prep, he kind of broke.
And it's about 9:30, and I got to tell you guys, I caught a case. I got a big case of the Fuckets.
Went to the store, bought like 5 Twinkies and ate them all. Just nom, 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 just crushed them. Because it was too far in the hole. He was just too lean, too close to that edge. I think most people would break way sooner than he did at that point, by the way. And he still went on to compete and did fine. 5 Twinkies over the span of 6 months of eating clean is literally nothing. Like I said, back to me, tracking kind of kept the scale excursions from getting too crazy. Because even when I was in maintenance, I kind of popped up 10 pounds at one point because there was a good week where I was just kind of eating whatever. And then after I kind of got clear of that, I was like, okay, maybe I'll just calm it down a little bit and I'll start tracking what I'm doing. And it cleaned things up. Not critical. Like I said, it's not a critical thing, but I thought it was helpful. I thought it was very helpful for me, and maybe it'll be helpful for you. All right, let's talk about exercise. Invariably, when people who haven't seen me in a while see me, the first thing they always say is, oh man, you've been working out. That's how you lost all that weight. Not true. Every single bit of my weight loss is legit from diet. Exercise can help, but it's not critical. And back to throwing my poor wife under the bus, she doesn't work out. Like, she has some physical activity like going on walks and stuff, but she's not a gym rat, doesn't pick up weights, doesn't get on the exercise bike, doesn't get on the treadmill. Like, that's not her jam. And did I mention she's lost almost 70 pounds? You don't have to exercise to lose weight. That said, for me, it has made a bit of a difference. Not just in terms of calorie burn, but in terms of muscle versus fat. Because I've been getting DEXA scans fairly regularly. And while I say I've lost 40 pounds, on top of that 40 pounds, if you look, my muscle mass has actually gone up. So in terms of raw fat that I've lost, I've probably lost greater than 50 pounds of fat and replaced it with muscle. You know, the old school bodybuilding thinking was that you could either bulk or you could cut. And you had to pick, am I gonna eat over my calories and put on that bulk to get more muscle? And then at some point I'm gonna diet down and I'm gonna lose some of the muscle but lose some of the fat. You don't have to do that. It's a kind of a fallacy. You can gain muscle and lose fat at the same time, and you don't have to do any hardcore crazy bodybuilding to do it. But the easier way to do that is exercise, and primarily picking up weights like resistance-based exercise, or even body weight like, you know, squats, push-ups, pull-ups, things like that. You've got to really do that if you want to build muscle. And it probably gets worse as we get older, because I'm certainly not getting any younger. I am at this point an aging athlete, so that made a big difference. And when it comes to exercise, there's a lot of different ways to go at that. You can go at it very casually. You can get on a program. You can get a personal trainer. And you know, that's kind of up to you. I didn't get a trainer. I did have the expertise of an individual who helped me come up with some programs. But what did kind of help was an activity tracker. Once again, not a critical thing, but once I got a Garmin smartwatch, it made me much more aware of how much activity I was engaging in, not just the exercise, but anything, climbing stairs, how many steps, et cetera, et cetera. And it really helped me kind of dial in how many calories I needed to maintain weight, gain weight, or lose weight. I don't think that this activity tracker's calorie estimates are 100% perfect, like it usually says. Before any exercise, I should be eating somewhere around 2,600 calories a day. But I think it's pretty close. I think it's pretty close. And in terms of its estimates about how much any activity that I've engaged in, how many calories it burns, I think that's pretty close too, because it has a, you know, it goes with me. It knows my weight because I put that in. Its estimates, I think, are pretty good. To give you some idea, like we got a Peloton, ride that bike. I have gotten off that bike and the bike has said, you burned 600 calories. And that sounds awesome. But then when I look in the Garmin app, it says, you've burned 460 calories. And between the two, I'm more inclined to believe the Garmin over the Peloton. And same thing with the elliptical. Like, I've gotten on the elliptical and the calorie estimates on that elliptical are, I would say, not just optimistic, but maybe even comedic, because my Garmin's telling me about half. Like, literally, I'll get off the elliptical, said, you burned 300 calories. And Garmin's going, you burned 150 calories. I'm more inclined to believe the Garmin. So with all that said, you know, like I said, do you have to have an activity tracker, like a smartwatch or anything like that, to figure stuff out? No, negative. But I've seen a lot of people use that as kind of a springboard to help them when it comes to their activity and in terms of tracking what they're eating. Because, you know, I'm using my MyFitnessPal for this, and I'm using the Garmin app for my activities, and those two integrate. And I suspect MyFitnessPal integrates with things like Samsung and Apple Fit as well. So it's really super helpful. I should mention, by the way, I know there are some other food trackers out there that might actually be a little more useful than MyFitnessPal. I've heard very good things about Chronometer, but I've never used it. Like there are several people who speak highly of it. So when distilled down, that's probably the 5 things that I'd say I came away with some additional lessons. The mistakes I made. Let's talk about mistakes. Probably the biggest mistake that I made initially was restricting what I was eating too much. There were weeks where I lost 3, 4, even 5 pounds. And I feel like that's probably doing some unhealthy weirdness. I don't know if you saw any of my other videos where I said, hey, I probably lost muscle at the beginning of my fitness weight loss. I based that on a few things. 1, how I looked in the mirror. 2, how I felt. And 3, the fact that I was restricting calories a lot. I probably should have stayed between 1,700 and 2,000 calories a day, especially when I was weighing like 228, 230 pounds. 2,000 calories a day with any activity whatsoever is going to cause a calorie deficit. But I never should have gone below 1,700. And there were probably a few times where I was eating like 1,000 or 1,200 calorie days, which for an adult male of any size is way too lean. So I got a little crazy. And I get it, like I wanted to see results. Like I want to see scale results because that's tangible. I can step on that scale, see a number and go, boom, I lost weight. It's really hard to get, at least in my mind, hey, you're in this for the long haul. And it's taken me every bit of a year to get there. But one of the big mistakes that I made off the jump, too much calorie restriction too fast. The next mistake I made, especially in those first few months, was not eating enough protein. And you don't have to eat protein shakes. You don't have to eat protein powder. You can certainly get all of your protein needs from either animal or vegetable protein sources. Gets harder with vegetable protein, but it is doable. But you got to do it. You got to get enough protein in because if you don't, even if you're getting enough calories, you're probably going to lose muscle mass. Things that really helped me out were protein powders and the Fairlife Core protein. One of those has like 40 some grams of protein in it. Estimates vary on how much protein you need. Bodybuilders will tell you 1 pound of body mass means 1 gram of protein per, or 1 gram of protein per 1 pound of body mass. So for me right now, I should be eating 180, 181 grams of protein. You don't need that much, but it doesn't hurt, especially if you're trying to lose weight. More protein actually ups your metabolism. It helps with a lot of things. You can go much lower, but you probably want at least 1 gram of protein per 2 pounds of body weight, or 1 gram of protein per 1 pound of lean body mass. So right now for me, it'd be like in the 140s. There are days where I don't get 180, obviously. There are days where I get more. But not eating enough protein, I think that will really kind of hinder you, especially if you're trying to hang on to muscle mass, which I hope you should. 3, my next mistake was too much cardio. I was prioritizing cardio over weightlifting. I'm not saying don't do cardio. I still, even to this day, probably get 20 or 30 minutes in on the bike every session, and I do that probably 3 or 4 times a week. But 20 or 30 minutes is probably pretty good. Marathon, 45-minute, hour-long sessions on the bike, probably too much. I don't know that it's gonna burn a whole lot more calories because your body just starts to acclimatize to it. 2, at some point, you're gonna start catabolizing things besides fat. What I really found was the best for me in terms of keeping my lean body mass, but still keeping my cardio going, was 20 to 30 minute sessions and just doing those multiple times per week. I wish I had probably spent more time sooner lifting heavier weights. Not injure yourself level of heavy weights, because that's a thing too, but enough weights to where you're building muscle and challenging yourself. Especially as you age, I think we all have to be careful and not do stupid stuff when it comes to weights. When I was in my 20s and 30s, I'd go in the gym and I'd slap on a whole bunch of extra plates, like just do it like ego lift. The odds of hurting yourself doing that, especially when you're my decrepit 50-some-year-old self, they're there. So I don't want to do that, but I wish I'd lifted heavier weights sooner. I think it would have helped. I think my last mistake, I'll just leave it at this one. My last mistake was trying to do it on my own for a long time, because even in the past year, all those mistakes aside, I made some good decisions. And one of them was getting a weight loss specialist doctor involved. Him getting me on tirzepatide really changed the complexion of what I was able to do and it got me moving forward in a good way. I wish I had done that sooner because I had tried and failed so many times to try and lose weight, get in better shape, and the things that I was doing were kind of half start, half stop, half start, half stop. It didn't really help. It wasn't until I enlisted the aid of somebody who knew what they were doing, who could look at what I was doing holistically and help me. If you struggled on your own and failed, no matter if you've done that one time or a million times, there is still hope for you, but I'd challenge you to go and get some outside help. Because the whole definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, trying to get a different result, that was me. I'm not throwing stones, I'm not throwing shade. I'm just telling you, I made that mistake multiple times. And so from that perspective alone, I'd tell you, don't give up. That's another mistake because I kind of did that too, bonus mistake. And find somebody who can help you, find something that works for you. Some people get wrapped up on, I want to do keto, I want to do carnivore, I want to do intermittent fasting, I want to do this, I want to do that. Any one of those strategies will work when it comes to losing weight, but you have to find one that's going to work for you. And I think you need to find the appropriate resources to help you through it. I'm going to end this here. I know I've already talked long enough. We're getting like to feature length, so we'll stop at this. I hope this has been helpful to you. If you've gotten anything from what I have learned and the mistakes I've made, I hope it helps. I really do. I don't make these videos to not try to help people. And I've been very fortunate that a few people have actually come to me and said, hey, you know, that thing you did, that made a lot of sense to me and that helped me out a lot. If you feel like getting in the comments and telling me that, I will certainly appreciate it, and it'll make me feel like a better human being. You're also welcome to get in the comments, ask questions, hit me with critiques, tell me I'm an idiot and I don't know anything. That's cool too. If you do have any questions and you put them in the comments, I will answer. I will to the best of my ability. And if I don't know the answer, I will attempt to point you to somebody or some resource that can help you out if I can find it whatsoever. If you enjoy my content, if you want to see more of it, and obviously most of it's more gear related and guns related, maybe some knives, some other stuff. But if you enjoy this and you want to see more of it, I'd appreciate a subscription, obviously likes, and if you really want to see my stuff, that notification bell gets you, when I post things, an immediate notification of it. Ladies and gentlemen, I will end this here. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for watching. I really do appreciate each and every one of you who has gotten me to where I am today. Take care, stay safe. I'll talk to you soon.
Get 'em, Jay.